I invite you to join me in our greeting tonight. The words in your bulletin are on the screens. God is light, in whom there is no darkness at all. And this is the judgment, that the light has come into the world. Well, good evening and welcome to the Mulvane United Methodist Church. I'm Pastor Russ Anderson, and so pleased that you could join and be with us tonight on this Good Friday. We welcome those of you who are worshiping at home tonight as well. And I trust that as we go through this service, that you feel the Spirit of Christ with you. So tonight we come to a Good Friday and a service of shadows. We started this week in festivity and jubilation, a parade of palms through the city. But tonight, we end this week in darkness and in shadows. Before us, a garden, a man all alone, friends scattered, whipped, beaten, and scourged, hung on a cross until death could have its final say. We enter this service in light, but we'll exit tonight in the shadows of darkness. Silence as we hear the story of the Passion through Scripture, story, and song. As we progress throughout this night, candles will be extinguished and the lights will be dimmed, casting long shadows of the night. So I invite you to prepare your hearts, to settle your minds, and to contemplate the dedication of our Lord until we meet again on Sunday morning.
Righteous Tonight we begin in an upper room with his disciples gathered around a table as we hear from Matthew in his telling of the story. That evening he took his place at the table with the 12 disciples. As they were eating, he said, "I assure you that one of you will betray me." Deeply saddened, each one said to him, "I'm not the one, am I, Lord?" He replied, "The one who will betray me is the one who dips his hand with me into this bowl. The human one goes to his death just as it is written about him. But how terrible it is for that person who betrays the human one. It would have been better for him if he had never been born." Now Judas, who would betray him, replied, "It's not me, is it, Rabbi?" Jesus answered, "You said it."
Now Judas, who betrayed him, also knew the place, for Jesus often met there with his disciples. So Judas, procuring a band of soldiers and some officers from the chief priests and the Pharisees, went there with lanterns and torches and weapons. Then Jesus, knowing all that was to befall him, came forward and said to them, "Whom do you seek?" They answered him, "Jesus of Nazareth." Jesus said to them, "I am he." Judas, who betrayed him, was standing with them. When he said to them, "I am he," they drew back and fell to the ground. Again he asked them, "Whom do you seek?" And they said, "Jesus of Nazareth." Jesus answered, "I told you that I am he. So if you seek me, let these men go." This was to fill the word which he had spoken. "I did not lose a single one of those who you gave me." Then Simon Peter, having a sword, drew it and struck the high priest's slave and cut off his right ear. The slave's name was Malchus. Jesus said to Peter, "Put your sword into its sheath. Shall I not drink the cup which the Father has given me?"
With the disciples scattered, Peter decides to follow the cohort of soldiers taking Jesus to Caiaphas' house. He stands outside in the shadows. Hear now these words of denial from Matthew's gospel. Meanwhile, Peter was sitting outside in the courtyard. A servant woman came and said to him, "You were also with Jesus the Galilean." But he denied it in front of all of them, saying, "I don't know what you're talking about." When he went over to the gate, another woman saw him and said to those who were there, "This man was with Jesus, the man from Nazareth." With a solemn pledge, he denied it again, saying, "I do not know this man." A short time later, those standing there came and said to Peter, "You must be one of them. The way you talk gives it away." And he cursed and he swore, "I do not know this man." And at that very moment, a rooster crowed. Peter remembered the words, "Before the rooster crows, you will deny me 3 times." And Peter went out and he cried uncontrollably.
Unable to carry out the death penalty themselves, the council decided to send Jesus to Pilate. Listen now as Matthew tells the story. Jesus was brought before the governor. The governor said, "Are you the king of the Jews?" Jesus replied, "That's what you say." But he didn't answer when the chief priests and elders accused him. Then Pilate said, "Don't you hear the testimony they bring against you?" But he didn't answer, not even a single word. So the governor was greatly amazed. But the chief priests and the elders persuaded the crowds to ask for Barabbas and kill Jesus. The governor said, "Which of the 2 do you want me to release to you?" "Barabbas," they replied. Pilate said, "Then what should I do with Jesus, who is called Christ?" They all said, "Crucify him." But he said, "Why? What wrong has he done?" They shouted even louder, "Crucify him." Pilate saw that he was getting nowhere and that a riot was starting. So he took water and washed his hands in front of the crowd. "I'm innocent of this man's blood," he said. "It's your problem." All the people replied, "Let his blood be on us and on our children." Then he released Barabbas to them. He had Jesus whipped, then handed him over to be crucified. The governor's soldiers took Jesus into the governor's house, and they gathered the whole company of soldiers around him. They stripped him and put a red military coat on him. They twisted together a crown of thorns and put it on his head. They put a stick in his right hand. Then they bowed down in front of him and mocked him, saying, "Hey, King of the Jews."
joy to honor you. In all I do, I honor you. In all I do, I honor you. You are my King. You are my King. Jesus, you are my King. Jesus, you are my King.
It was early in the morning when Pilate took Jesus out and had him scourged. The soldiers braided a crown of thorns, laughing as they thrust it on his head. Then they took a purple cloth and draped it over his shoulders as a robe. One by one they came by to him, mocking, "Hail, King of the Jews!" striking him with their hands and rods, anything they could find. Thinking of no other insults sufficiently humiliating him, the soldiers brought Jesus to Pilate. Looking him up and down, thoughts racing through his mind, he leads Jesus out onto the balcony of the Praetorium and has him stand before the crowd that had gathered. "See, I bring him out to you," Pilate cries out. "Know that I have found no crime in him." "Behold the man," Pilate says, gesturing towards Jesus. Seeing Jesus standing there wearing a crown of thorns and a purple robe, bloodied and bruised, hearing that Pilate had found no crime in him, the chief priests and the temple officials began shouting, "Crucify him! Crucify him!" Louder and louder they shout to incite the crowd, "Crucify him! Crucify him!" But Pilate would have no part of this, and said again to them, "Take him yourself and crucify him. I find no crime in him." Then those of the religious authorities answered back, saying, "We have a law, and by that law he ought to die, because he has made himself the Son of God." Upon hearing this, Pilate began frightened and entered his headquarters again, taking Jesus with him. "Where are you from?" he asked Jesus, but Jesus gave no answer. "Tell me," Pilate says, "will you not speak to me? Do you not know that I have power to release you and the power to crucify you?" Looking up, blood streaking down his face, Jesus answered him, "You would have no power over me unless it had been given to you from above. Therefore, he who delivered me to you has the greater sin."
Finding no wrong, Pilate tries to release Jesus, but religious leaders insist he must not. Hear now as John tells the story. From that moment on, Pilate wanted to release Jesus. However, the Jewish leaders cried out, saying, "If you release this man, you aren't a friend of the emperor. Anyone who makes himself out to be a king opposes the emperor." When Pilate heard these words, he led Jesus out and seated him on the judge's bench at the place called Stone Pavement, in Aramaic, Gabbatha. It was about noon on the preparation day for the Passover. Pilate said to the Jewish leaders, "Here's your king." The Jewish leaders cried out, "Take him away! Take him away! Crucify him!" Pilate responded, "What? Do you want me to crucify your king?" "We have no king except the emperor," the chief priests answered. Then Pilate handed Jesus over to be crucified.
When they finished mocking him, they stripped him of their military coat and put his own clothes back on him, and they led him away to crucify him. As they were going out, they found Simon, a man from Cyrene, and they forced him to carry his cross. And they came to the place called Golgotha, which means skull place. They gave Jesus wine mixed with vinegar to drink, but after tasting it, he didn't want to drink it. And after they crucified him, they divided up his clothes among them by drawing lots. They sat there guarding him. They placed above his head the charge against him. It read, "This is Jesus, the King of the Jews." They crucified him with two outlaws, one on his right and one on his left. Those who were walking by insulted Jesus, shaking their heads and saying, "So, you were going to destroy the temple and rebuild it in 3 days, were you? Save yourself. If you are God's son, come down from the cross." In the same way, the chief priest, along with the legal experts and the elders, were making fun of him, saying, "He saved others. He can't save himself. He's the King of Israel. So let him come down from the cross now. Then we'll believe him. He trusts in God. Let God deliver him now." He said, "I'm God's son."
Matthew takes it upon himself to describe the scene as the crowds look on. From noon until 3 in the afternoon, the whole earth was dark. At about 3, Jesus cried out with a loud shout, "Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani," which means, my God, why have you left me?" After hearing him, some standing there said, "He's calling Elijah." One of them ran over, took a sponge full of vinegar, and put it on a pole. He offered it to Jesus to drink. But the rest of them said, "Let's see if Elijah will come and save him." Again, Jesus cried out with a loud shout. Then he died. Look, the curtain of the sanctuary was torn in two from top to bottom. The earth shook, the rocks split, and the bodies of many holy people who had died were raised. After Jesus' resurrection, they came out of their graves and went into the holy city, where they appeared to many people. When the centurion and those with him who were guarding Jesus saw the earthquake and what had just happened, they were filled with awe and said, "This was certainly God's Son."
who gather here, by grace draw near and bless your name. Love so amazing, so divine, deep inside soul, my life,
The horror of the day ends, but there is still the dilemma of what to do with the body. So Joseph of Arimathea, a secret disciple of Christ, asked for the body for burial. Hear now these words from Matthew's Gospel. That evening a man named Joseph came. He was a rich man from Arimathea and had become a disciple of Jesus. He came to Pilate and asked for Jesus' body. Pilate gave him permission to take it. Joseph took the body, wrapped it in a clean linen cloth, and laid it in his own new tomb, which he had carved out of the rock. After he rolled the large stone at the door of the tomb, he went away.
Gather round. I have a story to tell of one who reached inside himself, took a handful of love, like a pile of stardust, and said, this is for you. It's all you need. It's all you will ever need. There is enough to change the whole world here. Take it. Many laughed at him. Some mocked him and ignored the invitation. But some dared take it. And those who did noticed something about this love. They found that they could do what the gift giver could do. That they could stand with the lost, welcome the traveler, eat with the hungry. They found themselves doing what the man first did to them. Give something of themselves to others. They became like the man, offering themselves. And as they offered themselves, others took the invitation, and many still do. Many still trust. Is it enough to change the world? Is it enough to change the whole world? Go into the shadows. Offer yourself. Change the world. Go in peace. I thank you for worshiping with us tonight. Would you please stand?